The movie begins with a fisherman named Syracuse, struggling out at sea as he tries to catch fish. For days, his nets have come up empty, leaving him frustrated and worried about his survival. But one day, when he feels his net suddenly grow heavy, he quickly pulls it up with hope, only to be shocked by what he finds. Instead of fish, a young woman is tangled in the net, barely alive. Without wasting a second, Syracuse performs CPR and manages to revive her slightly, though she is still in critical condition. He immediately decides to turn the boat around and take her to a doctor, but the girl suddenly stops him. She begs him not to take her anywhere, saying she is afraid of people. She asks him to promise that he will hide her. Her words are strange, but something about her makes Syracuse trust her. So instead of going to town, he takes her to his mother's isolated house on a distant island, a place where no one comes and no one knows about. Syracuse himself is struggling financially after many days without catching fish. Even then, he gives the girl whatever food he has and then heads to his ex-wife's house to pick up his daughter, Annie. Here, we learn something heartbreaking. Annie is suffering from double kidney failure, meaning both her kidneys have stopped working. Without a donor, she is forced to go through regular dialysis just to stay alive. During one of these sessions, Annie asks her father to tell her a story. Syracuse turns his real-life experience into a story. He begins by saying that once there was a poor fisherman who went to the sea every day but could not catch any fish. And then one day, instead of fish, a beautiful girl was caught in his net. Annie immediately interrupts him and asks if the girl was a selkie. Confused, Syracuse asks what that means. Annie explains that selkies are magical sea creatures who can live as humans on land. She says they have magical voices, can sing enchanting songs, and possess a special seal coat that allows them to return to the sea whenever they want. According to her, they can live on land for 7 years until the sea calls them back. Syracuse listens quietly, responding only with a simple nod. Deep down, even he doesn't know who the girl really is. He doesn't even know her name. After Annie's dialysis ends, he drops her back at her mother's house and returns to his own. The next day, as he prepares to go fishing again, he hears something unusual. The girl is singing. Her voice is mesmerizing, almost magical, and it reminds him of Annie's story. For a moment, he wonders, could she really be a selkie? Shaking off the thought, he continues his work. The girl asks if she can join him for fishing. Syracuse warns her that there will be people around and she might feel uncomfortable, but she insists. Eventually, he agrees and takes her along. Out at sea, Syracuse tries to learn more about her. He asks about her past, her family, even her name, but she acts as if she remembers nothing. Then she simply tells him that he can call her Ondine, a word that means a girl out of water. As Syracuse checks his lobster traps, he finds them empty once again. His situation is so desperate that he cannot afford to return without anything, so he sets the traps again. This time, Ondine begins to sing. She keeps singing as the traps sink into the water. When Syracuse pulls them back up, something unbelievable happens. Every single trap is filled with lobsters. He is shocked and overjoyed. From that moment, he begins to believe that Ondine is lucky for him. Excited, he asks her to come fishing with him every day, even offering to pay her. After collecting a huge catch, Syracuse returns to town to pick up Annie from school. Annie is waiting in her motorized wheelchair while Syracuse arrives in his car. On the way back, Annie asks him to continue the story. Syracuse tells her that the girl from the sea had a magical voice, and whenever she sang, the fisherman would catch a lot of fish. As he finishes the story, they arrive at Annie's mother's house, and Syracuse drops her off before leaving. But Annie is not convinced. She feels that her father is hiding something from her. Curious and determined, she secretly follows him. And soon her suspicion turns into reality when she sees the mysterious girl at her father's house wearing new clothes that he had bought for her. Syracuse gently asks Ondine how long she plans to stay. She simply replies that it depends on him. For a moment he hesitates, but then, almost unwillingly, he tells her she can stay forever. Hearing this, Ondine smiles, clearly happy with his answer. He then explains that he has already told his daughter Annie about her, but not as reality, only as a story. Surprisingly, This does not upset Ondine. Instead, she seems to like it, as if she prefers to remain a mystery. Meanwhile, Annie, who had secretly seen Ondine at her father's house, becomes convinced that the girl might actually be a Selkie. Curious and determined to find the truth, she goes to the library and starts researching everything about these mythical sea creatures. At the same time, Syracuse visits a church to confess his past. He reveals to the priest that he and his ex-wife were once addicted to drugs. During that time, they neglected their daughter, and by the time Syracuse realized something was wrong, Annie had already fallen seriously ill. When he finally took her to the doctor, he learned the devastating truth. She was suffering from double kidney failure. That moment changed everything. Syracuse broke down and decided to leave his old life behind. He knew he had to take responsibility and become a better father. But his wife refused to change, and eventually he divorced her. Even then, the court did not grant him custody of Annie, as he did not have enough money to support her. So Annie stayed with her mother, while Syracuse continued to care for her in every way he could. After confessing all this, Syracuse also tells the priest about the mysterious girl he found in the sea. The priest listens, but he doesn't take that part seriously, assuming it is just a story. Back at the library, Annie gathers enough information about Selkies and rushes to her father's house. There, she finds Ondine swimming and singing in the water. Excited, Annie runs toward her and starts asking questions without stopping. She asks if Ondine is a Selkie, if she can heal people with her magical voice, and where her seal coat is hidden. She even explains that if a Selkie hides her coat on land, she can live there for 7 years. Annie talks so much that Ondine barely gets a chance to respond. From all this, Ondine quietly understands that Annie must be Syracuse's daughter. Still, she chooses not to answer any of her questions. Meanwhile, Syracuse himself begins to have doubts. He goes to the library, thinking about everything Annie said. A part of him starts believing it too, that Ondine might not be an ordinary human. After all, every time she sings, his nets are filled with fish. Around this time, a new mysterious man is introduced. We don't know who he is or where he came from, but one thing is clear. He is searching for Ondine. The next day, Syracuse takes Ondine out to the sea again. As he throws his nets, she begins to sing once more. Soon, the nets fill up with all kinds of fish, both big and small. The catch is so unbelievable that even the guards watching from a distance become suspicious. They approach Syracuse's boat to investigate, suspecting that he might be using something illegal. Seeing them coming, Syracuse quickly tells Ondine to hide. The guards search everything carefully but find nothing unusual at first. However, when they open a storage area, they find Ondine hiding inside. They start questioning Syracuse, but he cleverly asks them if bringing a girl on a boat is illegal. The guards have no proper answer and are forced to leave. Still, before going, they question how he is catching so many fish. After they leave, Syracuse realizes that hiding Ondine may only create more problems. He tells her that this is a small town, and once people notice something unusual, rumors will spread quickly. It would be better if she shows herself openly instead of hiding. Ondine agrees, though she feels uncomfortable. As she appears in front of people, they begin staring at her. Their looks make her feel strange and confused. Later, she tells Syracuse that people look at her as if something is wrong with her. Syracuse reassures her, saying that it is only because she is beautiful. Soon, Syracuse finally introduces Annie to Ondine. Annie is thrilled to meet her and becomes even more convinced that Ondine is a Selkie. The three of them spend time together, even going shopping like a normal family. The next day, Annie visits again and meets Ondine once more. As they spend time together, Ondine realizes that Annie cannot swim. Gently and patiently, she begins teaching her, bringing a sense of warmth and connection between them. After teaching Annie how to swim, Ondine leaves her safely on the ground. But suddenly, Annie's foot gets stuck in something unusual. When she pulls it out, she discovers a net containing strange items. Annie instantly becomes excited and insists that this must be Ondine's seal coat. She tells her to bury it in the ground so she can stay on land for 7 years. Ondine does not respond much to this idea, but together they hide the bag in the backyard. She quietly tells Annie that this must remain their secret, and Annie happily agrees. The next day, there is a small celebration near the seaside. Syracuse takes both Ondine and Annie there. Curious to test Ondine's powers, Annie suddenly jumps into the water as a prank. Without hesitation, Ondine dives in and rescues her. Annie is left in a weak condition, so Syracuse quickly drops her back at her mother's house and returns home with Ondine. Syracuse feels deeply guilty. He blames himself for not protecting his daughter properly. Seeing his pain, Ondine comforts him, and in that moment, the two of them grow emotionally closer. The next day, however, Syracuse begins to feel guilty again. He questions whether Ondine is truly human or something else. Conflicted, he goes to the church and confesses that he has grown close to a girl whose true nature he does not understand, whether she belongs to land or sea. Even this time, the priest does not take his confession seriously. As Syracuse steps out of the church, he encounters a stranger, the same mysterious man who has been searching for Ondine. The man asks him about her, but Syracuse avoids the conversation and walks away. Meanwhile, Annie is once again undergoing dialysis. During the session, she confesses to her father that she has been having bad dreams and feels like she might not survive. Syracuse reassures her, telling her that everything will be fine and that she will stay with him. After the session, Syracuse takes Annie to her mother's house, only to find it locked. He goes into town to search for her mother. During this time, the stranger arrives at Syracuse's house, looking for Ondine. Fortunately, Ondine senses his presence and hides inside the greenhouse. Syracuse eventually finds his ex-wife and asks her for the house keys, but she refuses and insists that Annie will be fine staying with her. With no choice, Syracuse leaves Annie there and returns home. When he arrives, he is shocked to find Ondine missing. Panic sets in until he checks behind the house and finds her hiding, frightened. He asks her why she is hiding and tells her about the man who came looking for her. He demands to know who that man is. Ondine replies that the man is her husband and that he is dangerous, someone she wants to stay away from. Not wanting to pressure her, Syracuse tells her to make a wish to get rid of him. But instead of wishing for herself, Ondine wishes for Annie's safety. This confuses Syracuse as he has no idea what has happened to his daughter. Meanwhile, Annie is returning home with her mother, who is drunk. Her mother, along with her boyfriend, gets into a car accident while intoxicated. The man dies instantly, and Annie's mother is seriously injured. Annie survives with minor injuries but loses consciousness. Hours later, Annie wakes up in the hospital to find Syracuse by her side. The doctors soon arrive with unexpected news. The man who died in the accident was a registered organ donor, and his kidney is a perfect match for Annie. This means her life can be saved. Overwhelmed with relief, Syracuse immediately agrees to the surgery. The operation is successful, and Annie is finally given a second chance at life. At the same time, we see the funeral of the man who donated his kidney. Syracuse consoles his ex-wife and later takes her to a pub to help her cope. But there, he falls into old habits and drinks heavily. In his drunken state, his thoughts become confused and unstable. That night, he returns to his boat, where Ondine is still hiding from the man chasing her. In his intoxicated state, Syracuse tells her to go back to her husband. But Ondine reveals the truth. She is not married, and that man is not her husband. However, Syracuse cannot understand her properly. Instead, he convinces himself that she has been lying all along, that she is not human, but a creature of the sea. Believing this, he takes her back to the shore and leaves her near the sea. In the next scene, Syracuse brings Annie to his house, knowing she now needs constant care after her operation. As soon as Annie arrives, she asks about Ondine. Syracuse lies and tells her that Ondine has gone back. Annie is not upset by this. Instead, she calmly says that Ondine will definitely return, because she left her seal coat behind. Later, while watching TV, Annie switches to a French channel where a band is performing. The moment Syracuse hears the song, he freezes. It is the exact same song Ondine used to sing. In that instant, everything becomes clear to him. There was no magic. It was simply a French song. Ondine was telling the truth all along. She was human, and the fish he caught was just luck. Realizing his mistake, guilt overwhelms him. He understands that he left her alone near the sea without even trying to understand her. Without wasting time, he rushes back to the place where he had left her. There, near a watchtower, he finds Ondine shivering in the cold. Seeing him, Ondine is surprised and asks why he came back. Syracuse tells her that he heard her song on TV and now knows she is human. He asks her to finally tell him the truth, who she really is, why she came here, and why that man is chasing her. This time, Ondine tells everything. She reveals that she was involved in drug trafficking. She worked with a dangerous gangster, and during one smuggling operation at sea, the police caught them. To escape, she and her partner jumped into the water. That partner was the same mysterious man who has been chasing her. Before jumping, he told her never to let go of the bag they were carrying, a bag full of drugs. But the weight of the bag made it impossible for her to survive in the water. In order to save herself, she let it go, and moments later, she got caught in Syracuse's fishing net. That is why the man has been searching for her ever since. Though she made mistakes in the past, Ondine has changed. Seeing her condition and hearing the truth, Syracuse feels sympathy for her and decides to take her back home. But when they arrive, they are shocked. The man has already entered the house and taken Annie hostage. He uses her to force Syracuse to reveal Ondine's location. Annie, in her innocence, had already told him everything, believing Ondine was a magical sea girl who would return for her seal coat. The man reveals the truth to Annie, that what she thought was a magical coat was actually a bag of drugs hidden nearby. Annie is confused and unable to understand. At that moment, Syracuse and Ondine step forward. The man, furious, begins attacking Ondine and demands to know where the bag is. Ondine takes him to the bushes where the bag was once hidden, but it is no longer there. Enraged, the man starts beating her brutally. Just before things get worse, Annie speaks up. She reveals that she had taken the bag earlier, thinking it was Ondine's seal coat, and hid it on her father's boat. The scene shifts to the boat where all of them rush to find the bag. The man searches desperately, almost losing control. In a sudden moment, Ondine outsmarts him and pushes him into the sea, finally freeing themselves from him. With the danger gone, Ondine decides to leave her past behind completely. She takes the bag of drugs and throws it into the water, choosing a new life over her old one. In the final moments, we see Ondine and Syracuse getting married. Together with Annie, they begin a new chapter of life, peaceful, hopeful, and finally free from the past.